to the latest edition of Silicon Grapevine. I'm Nitin Dahat with the Times, and today my guest is somebody quite prominent in the Indian semiconductor industry, Madhu, who's the founder and CEO of InCore Semiconductors. Madhu, hello.
Hi, Nitin.
We've talked a lot about the business, and you can read that on the Times, but I want to get into a little bit about you and your personal and professional journey. This is the idea of this show. So tell me a little bit, first of all, what are you doing right now? You're CEO, founding CEO of InCore. What's InCore all about?
Well, InCore is an effort to create processors and along with the partners, SOCs in India. So InCore is not just a tech company. It's actually an initiative to give India strategic importance. So when I'm doing InCore, it's not just building it. If I was a Silicon Valley CEO, I would be focusing on just building the business. Here it's creating an industry from scratch. So there's a lot of personalities involved. There's working with the government. And when you're creating an industry along with partners, you also want to make sure that the industry has the right directions, it dreams big. So it's far more of a challenge. It's far more interesting than just being a tech CEO.
And I think I'm quite impressed with my conversations with you so far in that sort of dreaming big being espoused in the things that you're doing. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Let's go back to how you started in all of this. I think you're inspired by a family of engineers, and then you also sort of started working with processors at 14. Yeah, just tell us how this all happened for you.
You want to hear the really funky version?
Of course.
It actually started with the jackfruit.
Okay, well, there you go. Yes, let's elaborate on the jackfruit.
I think I was 11 to 12, and so my grandfather's house, still there. The house is knocked down, they built the flats and stuff. There are a lovely jackfruit tree in front.
And this is in which city?
In Chennai.
Chennai, yeah.
Just next to the American consulate.
Okay.
Like about a kilometer and a half from walking distance from the American consulate. The jackfruit tree, unfortunately, when we built the new house, they put concrete on the base and it went. But we have its descendants in various other houses in the family. So I had too much of jackfruit, and most folks outside India would not have heard of the jackfruit unless they're Southeast Asian and stuff. It gives you the mother of all tummy aches. So here I am stuck as a 12-year-old kid. For the first time I'd taken a vacation without my mom alone, and then you get all these dreams about mortality and stuff, all of that, right? So when you're in that situation, that gets you thinking about life, death, and more importantly, how the universe is constructed, right? So, so for me, I come from a family of engineers, so you have a very strong science background. One grandfather was an engineer, the others had a master's in math, right? So it's a very scientific upbringing is part of the course. Then you start wondering about how everything is constructed and stuff, and when you think about it, then that somehow pushed me into information science and computer science and so on. Yes, how stuff is built.
Yeah.
The physical thing comes from physics.
Yeah.
The information things come, what is information? How do you think, right? So I kind of went into neuroscience. So I came into computer science via neuroscience, trying to see how do I recreate life, literally. So that is why AI is of interest to me, because the goal for me was how do you create sentient entities?
But where does the jackfruit come in?
The jackfruit was what kicked the whole thing, because it
inspired your thought, okay.
No, so you suddenly got afraid that you're going to die.
Oh, that way, okay, yes. Yeah.
Right, then so the first question I said, look, it is idiotic to be afraid of dying, because 13 years ago I didn't exist. So for all of eternity before those 13-year periods, I didn't exist. After a certain period, I'm not going to exist. The period of existence was only 60 to 80 years. You should be more worried about what happened before and after rather than the now.
Yeah.
So being afraid of death is a stupid emotion.
Yeah.
It's what makes you alive is the question. And if you've got a scientific bent of mind, that leads you into thinking about how things work, how nature is constructed.
That's right, yeah.
So it led me to information theory. Other people undergoing a similar experience probably would go into physics, into material science and all of that.
Got it.
One example I'm very fond of giving is, we talk about complex things, forget all that. You look at an ant, tiny little
And yes.
I can't construct an ant. Human beings can't construct an ant and make it live. Engineering is as much about aesthetics as it is about science.
Right.
An engineer who has no sense of aesthetics is a zombie. He's just a mechanotron who's just doing equations and stuff. To truly create desirable objects requires you to have a very strong sense of aesthetics. A balance of aesthetics with mathematics is what makes great engineering products. It can be an iPod, it can be a processor, it can be a plane, it can be a ship, it can be whatever. But that sense of wonder from nature translated into engineered objects is what defines me.
It's interesting because, we'll talk about that later, but that translates to the way you think about how things should be done.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. So yes, from the jackfruit, then I think you said you started working with a processor 14 or something?
Yeah, so I started getting to, like I said, I come from a family of engineers, so you get advice exactly, no, you have to do civil, you have to do mechanical, you have to do electronics, you have to do, right? We have like about 8 disciplines in the family, but everybody is saying that, no, you should take away my discipline.
Okay. Yeah.
So cousins will tell you exactly, you do this calculus if you want to do analog electronics and all that, right? You get explicit instructions. So my choice narrowed down to aeronautical and electronics. Aeronautical I was always interested as a kid. That was not possible. Electronics was what was feasible because we didn't really have an aeronautical industry.
Okay.
So went off into electronics. And then started doing digital because that is the easiest one. I still remember buying Elector, the magazine.
Yep.
So you would have digital circuit, they would give you a panel on that, right? So I actually started, so American kids would collect baseball cards. I actually started collecting data sheets.
At the age of 14?
Slightly younger, 12.
12. Okay.
Yes. Simple one, 74LS.
Oh, okay.
So I knew what a Shakti diode was when I studied and stuff.
That's pretty impressive.
No, but it's natural for the family. Given my family's background, I'm novel.
Yeah.
This is not about IQ. This is not portraying me as super smart and stuff. That's not the thing at all.
Yeah.
You can teach a 12-year-old how a diode works, how a transistor works. We don't teach kids engineering properly.
Okay. That's a very sort of it's a strong thought, which I think we discussed earlier as well. But so that you studied electronics in India?
Yeah.
And then what was your first job after that? How did you manage?
Joined Excel. I had a choice between 2 jobs, TCS in Mumbai and HCL in Chennai. Didn't want to go to Mumbai. It's too expensive commute and all of that even back then. Yeah. Chennai was interesting because HCL told me exactly what I would be doing.
Right.
So TCS I knew had a group doing non-stop computing. They were representatives of Tandem in India.
Got it. Yes.
So I asked them, can I work in the Tandem group? They said, we don't even know such a group exists because the guy interviewing me didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I said, no, you have that group, I want to work in that. He said, I can't give you those kind of guarantees. HCL said, we have a Unix R&D unit and you'll be put there. I said, good, that's what I want to do. Because I had started teaching myself BSc Unix up in college.
Wow.
I was working. So my final year project in bachelor's was a cross assembler. Doing cross assemblers was 60,000 on an x86 box. Yeah. Because we had 968,000 kits and all of that. So by the time I graduated, I had worked on like about 4 or 5 different processor families. And so my job was an extension of my project.
Got it.
I just seamlessly flowed into it the next day.
So how long did you do that for?
Worked for a couple of years. Yeah. Then HCL actually transferred me to Sybase in the US to work on a joint project. And I actually wanted to come back. Then my manager said, don't come back because the R&D that you knew back then doesn't exist.
Okay.
So Sybase kept giving me job offers. And like an idiot, I accepted job offer after they went IPO. They made me an offer 18 months before they went IPO.
Right, and you accepted it
After the IPO.
Yeah, it's a shame you couldn't have the retrospective stock.
No, Sybase was wonderful. Again, at Sybase, I was living outside the campus.
Yeah.
So I was probably the only person there who got an offer to do a master's at Berkeley.
Yeah.
And refused.
Oh, okay.
Why? Simple reason. Do you follow jazz at all?
Yes, I do.
So, Kimball's East? Kimball's is a very famous jazz. So Kimball's East was the main Kimball's is in San Francisco. Right. Kimball's East is a smaller jazz bar just next to the office. And they also had free Latin dance lessons in the evening twice a week.
Got it.
So my choice was to listen to a boring old white dude talking about computers or spending the evening dancing.
Okay.
For a 22-year-old, that's a very easy choice, man.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm sure.
I can teach myself architecture any day. You don't want to be 22 permanently.
Yeah.
So interestingly, if I'd worked, I would have probably studied under Professor Patterson. So I came to RISC-V and got to know him. So he kind of came back to my life.
So that's interesting. I mean, when you came to know him at that point, was that something you were considering, or were you doing something else at the time?
No, very much. When I finished my bachelor's, I applied only for 2 places. Even though my GRE scores were pathetic to say the least, one was UC Berkeley, where I wanted to do. I was very, very focused. I wanted to work only on vector processors.
Okay.
So, or parallel. So the choice was either Professor Patterson in Berkeley or Professor Arvind up in MIT.
Okay.
So interestingly, through Shakti, I ended up working with both.
So yeah, let's talk about Shakti, because first of all, so from Sybase,
So Sybase, I became a database guy.
Yeah.
I became one of the lead architects and stuff. And so a lot of VCs were willing to fund databases.
Yeah.
That is the peak, right? 99 was...
Exactly.
No, but I have this weird thing where if I do something for 10 years, I don't repeat that. I do startups only in areas that I know nothing about.
Oh, that's impressive.
So I was not a processor guy, I did Shakti. So every time I do a startup, I do with a new bunch of people I've not heard of before.
Okay.
And in areas that I've not done before. So for me, monetizing my expertise, I find boring.
Okay. I mean, so the processor. So when was that? That was around 2000.
I quit Sybase in 2000.
2000, yeah.
I went from being a database architect to the CEO of a startup in a span of a week.
And that startup was in India.
It is a US startup. I ran the APAC operations. It's a company called GDA Technology.
So yes,
Right. Okay, right. You know, AGK and you've heard about them, right? So I was the APAC CEO.
Okay,
Cool. They had a subsidiary in India reporting directly to the US, but I was actually handling sales, marketing, and general operations and stuff. And India partly came under me, partly there. So I was based in Singapore for 10 years.
Okay.
So I came to India in 2010. I quit GDA in 2000.
So that was your 10-year itch.
Yeah. No, 2006 I quit. I did other startups.
All right. Yeah.
Then I got married in 2009. My wife said, look, you want to get married, you got to come back to India.
Got it.
So then I closed shop in Singapore.
And how did the Shakti opportunity come then?
What is it? So 2010 when I came to India,
Yeah.
I created one more startup called Examiner Communications. Examiner.
Okay.
Like in the laser, but without the C.
Okay.
Examiner was India's first mobile phone company. We designed our own mobile phones. That is complete hardware, plastics, everything, our own Android port. And we actually got a ODM deal for a major IT manufacturer. I'm still under NDA, can't talk about it. They wanted to compete with an iPhone. We got the deal, we started designing, they decided not to do. And convincing Indian phone companies to design their own phones, non-starter. They just wanted to go to China, pick up a model and all of that, right?
Yeah.
The only thing is there. So had to close shop, no revenue. That is when I met Professor Kamakuti at IIT when I was advising some of the government labs. He says, look, why don't you help start a processor program?
Okay.
So accidentally I'm in a government meeting. And so
That's how things happen, isn't it?
so everything that I've done pretty much has been completely and utterly accidental. There's never been
Serendipitous.
always.
Yeah.
So I have great faith in the universe making my life interesting. Not easy, interesting.
And at that time, I mean, it's quite. Did they say like they wanted to develop a processor program, or something was already in progress? Something?
No. It was supposed to be. So 2007, Professor Kamakuti had been playing with processor architecture.
Yeah.
I think AMD even offered to license one of the really old cores and all that, and I think he didn't want that. So he was doing work in BlueSpec. Neil Gala was already there doing his. I think he was an intern or he's a project associate at that point of time. So then I said, let's start Shakti. You know how the name Shakti came?
Strength. It's about strength. It's
No, but it came for a much more mundane reason.
Okay.
I am a hardcore systems heavy guy.
Okay.
For me, a computer means a minimum of 32 cores. Half a terabyte of RAM and stuff. I can't do embedded. I've always done large systems my life.
Yeah.
So the first Shakti program was actually a PowerPC clone.
Got it.
Quad issue competing with the Xeon.
Yeah.
Ambitious for a beginning processor.
Yeah.
But we formally wanted to license IBM Power. It was based on a Power ISA, not on RISC-V.
Okay.
The first process based on power ISA.
Yeah.
IBM refused, saying we don't license and all that. Then they learned the lesson, now they're giving it free and all that, right? They created a sonnet as. I said, look, your ISA cannot be patented in India, but your trademark is. So Shakti is Sanskrit for power.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So Shakti basically was a PowerPC clone.
Interesting. Do you really want to say that?
No, I love that ISA even now.
Yeah.
Now IBM was saying, hey, even I think they made an offer a couple of months ago saying do that for all. I said, look, it's water in the bridge.
Yeah.
If you take up an offer, because it's a well thought out ISA.
Yeah.
Then Professor Arvind talked to us because he is associated with Professor Kamaguchi. He said, look, you guys produce power, but here we have patent issues. There's this new thing coming called RISC-V from Patterson's group. Why don't you switch over to that? So Neil and gang, I said, look, make a call. They said, yeah, it's a good switch. So we switched from the power ISA to the RISC-V ISA.
And that was 2030. Okay. So you've been working on developing that since then?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when did it come to a point where you said, okay, this becomes a commercial operation?
2017.
Yeah.
But once we got the tape out, so Intel kind of came into the picture and said, we'll give you a free shuttle.
Yeah.
They had a new process then, the 22FFL.
Yeah.
So Gautam was instrumental from the Intel side.
Yeah.
And then he took an early retirement from Intel and joined us as co-founder, right? So that's how we met Gautam, when we were looking for a tape-out partner for that.
Okay.
So 2017 we did a tape-out, then we did 3 tape-outs actually, we shunted, not one.
Okay.
And so once we felt it was stable, it was successful. 2018 we floated the company.
As in launched the company?
Launched the company.
Yeah.
But we did our own course, right? We really didn't take the Shakti course because we were not planning on doing an open source.
So I mean, we can sort of read about that in other parts of E-Times.
Yeah.
So let's focus on sort of some of the things that you get involved in. You're involved in lots of advisory and mentoring, and I mean, we even talked about your dogs and cats.
I have a crazy set of involvements. Sometimes it comes across as if I'm trying to boast or something, but I have an extremely curious mind.
Yeah.
I'm not the highest IQ guy on the planet. I'm a reasonably smart guy. I can hold my own. But what drives me is my curiosity, not mine. It's intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
People assume being an intellectual means you're smart. No, you can be dumb as a dodo and still be a great intellectual. Given your brain's limitation, you can still explore.
Yeah.
You don't need high IQ to explore. That's a mistake that everybody makes. So I have a passion for taking care of dogs and cats. I've been doing that since I was 12, so I've been doing that for 44 years.
Yeah.
But so we actually run a shelter for a friend of mine who specializes in rehabilitating paraplegic dogs. So based on my work, the governor of Tamil Nadu nominated me to the Senate of the Veterinary University.
Okay.
So I actually helped run a university for 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
And we started doing some clinical programs, mRNA vaccines for dogs. I'm currently trying to get a kickstarted canine nutrition clinical research program. Also some antivirals and all of that. So I have an interest in canine and feline biotech.
That's going to be your next startup at some point.
No. Those things I leave out. I do a lot of work in the strategic area. I advise the government on geopolitical strategies on the technology field.
Yeah. Well, I think part of that is semiconductors, and we've talked about that elsewhere.
Not just semi. I'm an advisor to the Indian Air Force on the drone program.
Okay.
So I look at everything from even hybrid engines to IC engines to anything techish. My specialty is processors.
Yeah. Interesting. I was at a conference recently, and it was a military and defense electronics technology, and everybody's talking about edge computing, but actually, even the F-35 is a large edge computing, and there's a DoD program to upgrade that processor. The compute technology in there.
You know, the US, any aircraft processors are primitive because they have such a large qualification time. By the time they consider something,
They talked about that, yeah.
You'd be amazed
Yeah.
at how they are.
But there's a big qualification process involved.
We are trying to reduce that. So one of the things that I want to do as a part of InCore is how do you do formal specification. So one of the reasons why BlueSpec got selected is from a philosophical perspective. BlueSpec is actually Haskell. So it gives you all the formal semantics of Haskell and all that. There's a newer language coming in as successor to BlueSpec, which is even more formal and all that, right? So we need to get to places where we can start mathematically proving software. We need to get human beings out of the loop. I'm opposed to human beings coding. Right? The human mind cannot grasp details.
Right.
We are a species of storytellers and metaphors. We like dealing in large abstract concepts. That is where the mind excels. The instant you get a mind to look at minutiae, it's dead.
And I think that's why, this is just from the last 10 years, political leaders have been able to, because people don't look at the detail, political leaders of all kinds have been able to get into it.
And pontificate of technology and all.
Exactly.
So I want us to get into formal thinking. So I think the simple example I give is the science fiction story, right? I'm a fan of Star Trek. If you look at the job of the chief engineer of the USS Enterprise, can you imagine the sheer number of subsystems they have to manage?
Yes.
And propulsion systems to, even biosafety systems, your data that systems, to computer systems, to holodecs and all of that.
Yeah.
While we are not there yet in the degree of complexity, we're getting there.
Yeah.
I don't think human beings will be able to deal with such complexity.
Yeah.
So engineering, philosophically, needs to learn how to deal with the complexity.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We somehow seem to think that come to India and get changed, they will throw people at the problem and everything against them. No.
So in a way, I think that AI is actually very beneficial because it helps the human to do less of that minutiae and then focus more on some of the things that might say yes or no or whatever.
Well, I am a contrarian. See, given my work with dogs and cats, and I see animal abuse like you wouldn't believe. Right? I've seen. We just rescued a cat where somebody threw an acid on it. It lost one eye. It's undergoing plastic surgery right now. I think we can save the cat. I had to get it to foster. My house is full. I have to take more cats. So I have no sympathy for the human race, very fragile. So for me, AI is more of a successor species.
Interesting.
Rather than complementing human beings.
Okay. Yeah, that's
I think minority.
Okay. Let's go back to my line of questioning, which was around sort of what are your sort of okay? We know that yes, the animal kingdom is very much your sort of passion, and potentially not humans, but let's not go there. So I think outside of that, what kind of technology excites you that you use every day?
Computing still continues to, material science excites me a lot. One of the things that I worked on, because I work with paraplegic dogs, I've been...
Material science.
So
creating the prosthetics, creating
so prosthetic. So you have these bioactive polymers. So you can actually have a wetsuit-like thing.
Yeah.
That wetsuit essentially acts as an artificial muscle that gives you extra strength.
Got it.
So we can do more. I'm approaching my 60s. India is great, the world is great, China is great.
Japan?
Yeah, everybody tried it. We just need muscle support.
Yeah.
See, if you can lift an object, you can brush your teeth, you can wash yourself, you can walk. The whole burden of caregiving can be dramatically reduced. I don't know why we are not pouring billions of dollars into electroactive polymers and stuff, which essentially can ensure, and a little bit of gyro stabilization so we can ensure that people don't fall down.
Yeah.
You know how many billions of dollars get spent because people have balance problems, they fall down, break their hips and stuff, and that cascades into a whole disease.
You don't think about it that way, but yes, you're right.
You should look at where society is spending its costs. I do a lot of work on the legal side, by the way. Because of my work in technology, I do a lot of work in patent law. So I actually teach occasionally at the Judicial Academy here. So I'm an amicus to the court of technology cases and all that. So I testified against WhatsApp and all of that.
Okay.
So the government actually is now asking WhatsApp to break its privacy, partly because of testimony some of this gave and all that, right? So there is that part. I also work in technology law. And 4-5 areas that I dabble with.
But in terms of technology that you really like using, what kind of tools are in your sort of everyday use? Obviously the mobile phone, but beyond that.
No, computers, I just stick to laptops and stuff. My interest is probably on CNC machines, robotics. Okay. So I love manufacturing. Okay. I'm a hands-on guy. I'm a tools builder.
Yeah.
Right. So I would love to do carpentry and stuff. If I had more spare time, I would probably figure out how to create small portable robots that will assist you in creating in carpentry. I've loved to create unique shapes. I don't know whether you've seen, it used to be in the 60s, the Brazilians do it beautifully carved wooden chairs, all that, right? My hands shake, and I'm not a great woodworker.
But the CNC machines would do exactly that. You just put the template in and bring that out.
More than CNC, see, I want it to be, okay.
Maybe.
So you don't want it to be totally mechanized because that becomes a little soulless.
Okay.
What you want is a ambidextrous robot assisting you. So it's you woodworking or doing pottery with 2 extra arms.
Yeah.
I want to see assistive robots.
Assisted robots, yeah.
Because it's humming, correct?
That's good. Let's ask you, do you, as a lot of people...
No, take that point. See, don't think of it as robots. Yeah. So you see the brain implant and all that, right? So this is like the flight wingman thing they're doing, right? So you have a F-16 pilot and then you got 2 drone things.
Got it, yeah.
So it's not a robot. What if I can have 2 extra arms that is controlled by my brain?
Got it, yeah.
Can you imagine living in a world where I have 4 arms?
Yeah.
Well,
isn't it in sort of Indian, what is it here, where you have all these gods with all the different arms and everything? So
no, that's the metaphysical.
Yeah.
So once I got bit by a cat and I didn't take my rabies injection in time.
Yeah.
And the doc said, you better be careful. I took it. Then the cat started getting some symptoms and the dog started getting worried. Because if you got it to rabies, you're dead, right? So I was in a bit of a panic. So just to calm me down, he just gave me some anti-anxiety drugs. By mistake, he overdosed me. And gave me a heavy dose of, it's called a clonazepam, I think 10 NG or something. And it should be taken only for 10 days. He said, take it for a month. Then I realized how bad it was and I was tapering it off. Then, of course, I went to the net, looked at the tapering and all that. They said, you're going to have dissociative symptoms. You know what that means? So when I tapered off, I went cold turkey.
Okay.
Now, to come off clonazepam is about 10 times more difficult than coming off, I think, heroin or something like that.
Oh, wow.
In literature, I don't know if that's true or not, so there would be to it. But I wake up one morning, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm not able to recognize my arm. My brain tells me that this arm belongs to somebody else who is brushing my teeth at the back.
Wow.
I know it's physically attached. And for the next 3 months, the ground that I was walking on was on an incline to 15 degrees.
Wow.
Because your brain chemistry is out of kilter coming off that, right? And there's just like about 1 month of taking those meds, which I should have taken. I didn't realize it. But the point is, my interest in neuroscience, I dabble a little in consciousness theory, is that the artificial reality that your brain creates is very fascinating because it's a complete, reality is a complete fiction created by your brain.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons I have no problem with AIs becoming sentient because I don't think human beings are conscious in the first place, in the sense that we think about it. So I solve the consciousness problem by denying that human beings are conscious. So if you're not, then AI. So for me, an AI going past a human being is the most logical.
It's natural. Is it a natural progression?
Natural.
Okay.
I also, philosophically, I'm what you would call a epistemological nihilist. That is, for me, the notion of semantics is bogus. The universe does not have meaning.
Okay.
The universe only has patterns.
Okay.
It has patterns, it's got meta patterns. Trying to see what something means is meaningless, right? If you hold that philosophical view, then an AI surpassing a human being is just pattern matching for and so on.
So I think I'm getting a picture of this now. So it's quite a interesting sort of perspective you have on life.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody who you consider as a mentor or somebody who inspired you, apart from your family of engineers?
No, family of inspired engineers basically provided the atmosphere. My dad essentially ensured that no question of mine was not answered. He never said this is wrong. His point was you can take any point of view provided you can logically justify it and hold up to it.
Right.
I don't have mentors. I never looked up to anybody. I know it sounds a bit arrogant.
Maybe not mentors, maybe like somebody who just inspired you, something that sort of got you into sort of thinking, okay, well, I need to look after cats and dogs, or I need to go and do processes. I know the jackfruit was the inspiration, but yeah.
No, apart from the jackfruit, nothing else to that.
Inspired.
Is it bad to say that? I don't know. I'm a bad human being to say
No.
It's like
I think it's a.
No, I'm a completely internal person.
Yeah.
For me, the external world in some respects, yeah, it exists, but I keep thinking, I construct my own reality.
Yeah.
Right? But I have a mind, and this is how it should be. Indian philosophy teaches us that I never hold a rigid view. For me, I've thought things through only if I have 4 opinions all directly contradicting each other.
Yeah.
So it is a quantum indeterminacy.
That's actually quite powerful.
So for me, good thinking means that you should be on this quasi-stable points where 4 outcomes are possible. You cast a toy and decide one, otherwise you can't take a decision in life.
Yeah.
So for me, the notion of truth and the absolute is bogus. It is. So for me, X is possible, Y is possible, Z is possible, A is possible.
So you are a very complete person, I think, if somebody listens to you like this. But do you measure success, and do you feel you've become a success in all the things you've achieved, or what is it you still want to do?
Oh, I don't define success. I don't care about success. I don't care about outcomes.
So you don't measure success. So then what's next for you after you've
Nothing.
finished?
For me, life is not a progression. It's just a journey.
Okay.
I have only one rule. You wake up in the morning. When you go to bed at night, if you have left the world a better place than you found it in, you're done okay for a day. That's why. Nothing else.
Okay.
You want to sum up my philosophy of life?
Yeah.
This is one. Nothing else matters. How does it matter?
Sometimes when the classic, not that I did a business school, but yeah, the classic business school teaching is you need to have a plan, you need to have thinking. So I think, a lot of people think that way.
We do business plans.
I don't mean in terms of business plan, but in terms of like your own sort of direction.
We plan, the universe decides otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Right. So for me, if you do the right thing, so for me, ethics matter. Everything is about ethics.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. So there is while I'm not a business person, all of that, there is a Vaishnavite ethos. It's ethos. It's not a belief. Which is para dukha dukhi, which means the suffering of all life is your suffering. It is nth degree empathy and compassion.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Very tough to follow.
I'm sure. Yes. Need to go deep into that. Yes.
Very bit of that. Right? If you take that attitude, that's what drives my annual thing and all of that. You don't think about yourself. See.
Yeah. It's I mean, in a sort of English way, you call that selfless. And I think
So for me, perpetuating the existence of my decaying carcass is not the definition of a life well lived.
Yeah.
By the way, in Sanskrit, shariram, the word for body means that which decays.
Yeah. Yeah. So
the very word of
yes. So appropriate. Yeah.
It is a perfect thing, right? Yeah. So it's very odd. There is no I in my head. I don't really recognize myself in a mirror in the sense that there's a physical object, but it's not like.
So one of the questions I ask all my guests at the end is, what would you advise the young you? But I think what I'm hearing from you is everything is about a journey that happens in all sorts of mysterious ways. But is there something that you would say you would advise to a young Madhu now, like to do differently, or what kind of advice would you give, given what you've achieved now?
Only one thing, the core beliefs that I had when I was a kid, I should have believed in them more.
Okay.
It need not have taken 40 years to validate your beliefs.
And those beliefs are basically around being good.
Ethics matter.
Ethics, yeah.
Even in engineering,
yeah.
Ethics matter. I will not sell a core in core unless I'm satisfied it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because it's trust, it's faith. Business is about trust and faith.
Yeah.
Money is distinctly secondary. If you don't have this, nobody is going to believe you, right? So trust matters, ethics matter. The place, you should locate yourself in the world.
Yeah.
In a very comfortable place and be anchored. That's what I tell people. You can discover that in your teenage years. You can. I don't know why people get so confused. Because I think society has a lot of these measurements of
which is I propagated that as well in this interview. So, yeah.
That's it. Let go of that. I mean, figure out what your core set of ethics are.
Yeah.
And figure out how you want to live your life. And believe in that, and come what may, stick to it. You will succeed in life. You will succeed according to your definition of success. You may not succeed according to a third-party definition of success.
Yeah. Well, Madhu, thank you very much.